spokesmodel and diva is Audrey Smaltz, and I asked her to do the introduction of this company, which is very, very special. And I thank Audrey because she always comes through for you, and that's why I was hoping the seats would be filled to show your appreciation. Audrey, you're on.
Thank you, Alice. This is really a great pleasure. I'm so glad to be here again. How many of you aspire to become a consultant? Nobody. That's about the best thing you can have, is being a consultant. Well, anyway, I want to tell you about the two young men that I'm about to introduce. Okay, that's fine, Alice, it's all right. There's Nicholas, and there's Michael. And there's Michael, and then there's Nicholas, M and N, or N and M. Last name Kaplan. I met them before they were born. Their mother and father are my friends. Their father was my boss, and their grandfather was the big, big boss. They are the great-grandsons of Lane Bryant. Lane Bryant is the name of the store. The great-grandsons, Nicholas and Mike, opened up a store called FTF, Fashion to Figure. They had a vision, they had passion, they had an idea, and it came to fruition. Store number 1 in the Palisades Mall. Store number 2 opening on Wednesday, the 23rd, and they're here today to speak to you on the 21st of November. Nicholas went to Lehigh University and graduated. He is the stylist, buyer, manager. He is the artistic, creative end of FTF, Nicholas. Michael is the operational end of FTF. These two brothers like one another, work together, live together, and prospering together. Michael has an MBA from Harvard a couple of years ago. They're brilliant, but more importantly, they're nice. And they're good to me and to everyone they know. Without further ado, Michael and Nicholas Kaplan. This is Michael, and this is Nicholas. Go to it, young men.
Yeah, no, sit. That's okay. It sounds much more glamorous, I think, than it is, and I can't believe people would actually spend their time coming to hear what I have to say, but we'll try to make it interesting. I wanted to just take you kind of through what we do as a business. You know, as Audrey was saying, we started a company a couple years ago, my brother and I did, and this is our backgrounds, which have been, I guess, on the posters that you guys have seen. And the way that our responsibilities kind of break down with regard to the retail business we have is I absolutely know nothing about retail, merchandising, fashion, visual display, or any of the stuff that you all come here to study. And my brother actually has worked in every area of retail as a buyer at Saks Fifth Avenue, as one of the early team at a company called Bluefly.com, where he was the general merchandise manager. He started a couple retail businesses. He's both managed departments inside of large retailers, bought merchandise, started businesses, and the rest. So thankfully, somebody knows what they're doing in our business. We got together a couple years ago, and we started thinking about the large size market, ironically not for the reasons that were mentioned because of our family's business. Yes, we did grow up around you know, the premier large size business in Lane Bryant, and you know, we obviously had my great-grandmother and her story of starting a business, which is, 800 stores and $1.5 billion today, was a great impact on us growing up. But neither of our careers were ever really marching in that direction. But we actually just got here by somewhat happenstance. In 1999, I was working on Wall Street in internet times, and I don't know if any of you all remember back then, but all you needed to have was .com on the end of your name and you were a billionaire. And I was working for somebody that was investing in such companies, and he said to me, why don't you write a business plan on something that you think is important so we can see how you make sense of some of the work I've been having you doing. Well, we started to, at that time, I started to look at the large size market because, you can't ignore all the news and attention that the growing of America gets. But when you start to kind of dig into the numbers, it's pretty staggering. 1 in every 3 American women wear above size 14 dress, so that's 60 million consumers in America alone. It's a traditionally very underserved customer. They spend over $30 billion a year on fashion, alone. So you have this very vibrant market of this underserved customer. So back in these, internet boom times, I said, this is a consumer that would probably like having an internet website where they could go and they could shop and have a sense of community, and they would appreciate the anonymity of the keyboard and mouse that the internet provides you. Well, my boss at the time said, I'm glad this has been a great exercise. Here's $5 million. You should go start this company. And I, was 26 years old at the time and thought that he was nuts, that nobody should give me money to do anything. And, he ended up funding that business anyway, and he sent me off to graduate school, which is what Audrey was talking about with regard to the Harvard MBA, which, by the way, that and a token, as they say, you'll take the train. But so this company, this web company that we started, back in 1999, actually ended up being sold to the market leader in large-size retail apparel, a company called the Charming Shops, which is out of Bensalem, Pennsylvania. I don't know if any of you all know that, but they have 2,500 large-size stores in 3 divisions with $3 billion of revenue. So it kind of struck me that I should maybe stick with ideas and focusing on the large-size market because, if the market leader was buying, a site that we had, I thought maybe we were onto something good. After all that, I tricked my brother into actually working with me and teaching me a little bit about retail. And we started to notice more things about, the large size market. I don't know if anybody's had the experience here of searching for fashion that's above 16, but, typically in malls, and as Audrey was saying, this is the mall that our first store is based in. This is the biggest mall in New York State and one of the biggest malls in America. It's got hundreds of women's apparel stores. Well, depending upon how you look at the world, there's 3 to 8 options for somebody that's seeking merchandise above size 14, and our store, which is only a year old, is actually one of them. If you're below size 14, there's over 100 stores you can go to. So clearly there's still a lack of, service in this market. But the interesting thing to us was that this consumer who had traditionally been scared of shopping. This was a customer that 25 years ago cringed when she went into a department store and had a petite saleswoman say, "Ma'am, if we have anything for you, it's in the basement or it's on the 10th floor." That was such a horrible experience that this person didn't want to go out shopping. Well, today, the last 20 years, we've seen in the entertainment field people like Oprah Winfrey, Rosie O'Donnell, Cameron Manheim, many positive plus-size stereotypes that thankfully society is coming away from its stereotypes of women simply being, the shape of what's on the cover of Vogue magazine. In fact, Vogue magazine actually has an annual shape issue, and even though society hasn't come around enough, it's certainly come around quite a bit from 25 years ago, and the above size 14 women today are seeking more and more fashion. They don't really want to avoid shopping. They actually want the fashion choices that many people have. And there's actually many manufacturers of product that are catching on to that. And there's many people providing product. But we thought that retailers were not necessarily catching on to this trend so quickly. So There's, as I say, the situation still exists, even though this customer wants more and is demanding more fashion, there's still not a lot of stores. And, what we said was, let's create a store where this consumer has everything that's catered to them. Let's not put only one collection in the store of merchandise with one brand. Let's actually get all kinds of merchandise from all different players that they can see so that they can have the maximum fashion choice in one location. Let's price it appropriately so it can be affordable fashion because, fast fashion and the H&Ms and the Zaras, and I'm sure you guys study that segment of the market. It's actually providing really good stuff. We kind of borrowed from that business model. And we thought that we would also try to wrap the store around a great sense of service to the consumer, where every single detail of what we do has this customer in mind, as opposed to other new businesses that are, started by people that are already in business. And what I mean by that is, our store essentially has a lot of different nuances and subtleties that many retailers wouldn't focus on that we think are critically important to our customer. We've got 2 seating areas in our store. The chairs are ergonomically shaped such that a large-sized woman has an easy time either relaxing and or getting up, from watching somebody else in a fitting room. Things like that, another retailer would say, you're sacrificing selling space. You're sacrificing units per square foot in your store. Well, from our standpoint, we feel like that provides a level of service for a consumer that when she's walking through one of the biggest malls in New York State, maybe she wants to relax before she actually shops around, for other things. We have climate control in our store where the temperature never goes above or below 68 degrees. Our customer appreciates that. They get a little overheated more easily than other women. We've got stylists in our store, and I'll get into that, more, and digging into some of our strategy a bit better. As I was saying, offering tons of different merchandise and many different brands is something actually very new in this market. Anybody for the last 20 years that's shopped for above size 14 clothes basically has had Lane Bryant to go to, the Avenue stores, or a company called Ashley Stewart. Any one of those businesses are what they call vertically integrated retailers. They make their own product and they have their own label only. It's one collection of clothes in each of those stores. In our store, my brother actually himself goes out in the market twice a week and buys from 75 different labels and sources of supply so that we can actually get together a collection of really fun, really fashionable merchandise in our store that provides somebody with a great selection. Now, what that does functionally for us is we actually don't plan and manufacture. How many of you are design majors or do, all this kind of, that's such a tremendous skill set that retail businesses and purveyors of their own product, they bring that skill set in the house. They get people like you all. We actually don't deal with that because we're actually sourcing from third parties. So we can avoid the whole creative process and lead time of 6 months in designing a collection. We can get goods on our store floor very quickly. And the biggest thing from the customer standpoint that frankly was a bit of luck in our business thinking was when you offer somebody in large sizes many different brands to choose from, you're actually offering them many different silhouettes that each of those brands or labels uses to make their product fit. So you're actually offering many different approaches to a single size. Now think about it for a minute. A woman can be a size 18 and she can be 6'2", or a woman can be size 18 and she can be 5'2". Obviously those 2 size 18s are very different, and actually everybody has a unique shape. In large sizes, if you have a single collection like I was mentioning before, some of the traditional stores do, they're all about mass production, taking that single silhouette and making it done, getting a collection manufactured in a least cost way with uniformity, so that if that 6'1" size 18 woman walks into that store and that silhouette fits her, great, everything will fit her. If the size 5'2", or the size 18 5'2" woman walks in that store and won't fit one item in the vertical retailer that is traditionally served this market, nothing in the store will fit her. In our store, you have 75 different people's approach to size 18, and we can really guarantee as a result that something will definitely fit you. We have stylists in our store. We don't have sales associates. I think it's a big thing in our store that women who understand the bad experience out there in seeking large sizes are the ones who actually get most excited to come into our store and tell consumers what we're doing, that you can get choice, you can get great prices, you can get great service at Fashion to Figure. So they provide, our stylists at Fashion to Figure provide a level of empathy and a level of fashionability that our consumers can draw on. And that's really what we do. It's a specialty store, it's a boutique with an eclectic collection that my brother actually gets together. It's tremendous amounts of service, it's great price, and it's a lot of selection. Now, it hopefully leads to this. Any of you thinking about going into design or in business or, you know, positions, you obviously want whatever your thoughts are to be, you know, to resonate with customers. And clearly, the emails that we get all the time at Fashion to Figure, you know, we're on to something here with our concept. You know, Alice and Audrey talked about our history. I guess I thought it'd be interesting as design students to hear a little about how my great-grandmother in 1899 started the large size market and what we call full fashion. Well, it's an interesting story. The way it impacts our business is we feel we have this 106-year relationship with the customer that each and every day we have to live up to that relation, or you know, that reputation, and make the relationship with the customer perpetuate the way that our family has done for more than a century. As a 16-year-old immigrant from Russia, my great-grandmother came to America and was having what I guess was you know, the typical, at that time, you know, immigrant experience, getting married, having a child, and moving here. Well, when her child was 1 year old, her husband died and left her with a set of diamond earrings, and she couldn't speak English, and she had no idea what to do. So she moved in with a sister of hers, and she started with a sewing machine making clothing for women in the neighborhood. She basically started, you know, having a bit of a following, and one of the women that she had regularly made stuff for came in and said, "Mrs. Bryant, I'm going to be pregnant, and I really would like you to make me a dress, and I don't know what to do." Now, at the time, and this will shock many of you, women in America were not meant to be seen in public when they were pregnant in the late 19th century. It was sort of an anathema. So this woman came in fits and said, you know, "Mrs. Bryant, can't you make me one of your wonderful designs that'll fit my pregnancy?" And she said, I can't do anything. And the woman said, "You know, I'll pay you a little more if you can actually just get something for me that'll be functional during this 9 months." And I guess what my great-grandmother did was figure out that she offered the woman to put a piece of elastic in the waistband of one of her dresses so the dress would expand as the woman's pregnancy went on, and thus was born the maternity dress. So she's credited with inventing the maternity dress, which is how she went into large and special sizes in 1899. I thought it'd be interesting as design students, and I'm sorry these pictures aren't better, for you guys to see some of her designs from 1899 and the early 1900s. These were her actual drawings, and these are the kind of things that our consumers can see at our stores to really get an idea of our commitment to them and this market. And I thought you guys would find it interesting that you know, this was some of the stuff that really created a fashion market which is now above a $30 billion market in America. She also, some of the first advertisements that she ever did at the turn of the century, you know, you'll appreciate that well before women could vote in 1909, after a 5-year struggle with the New York Herald Tribune, they finally let her advertise on the right her famous number 5 tea gown dress, which you know, was targeted exclusively for pregnant women. So she actually broke down that barrier in society of publicly acknowledging that women who are pregnant actually deserve fashion, they should be fashionable, they should be comfortable, and you know, that the fact that society or, you know, social circles didn't want to see them in public was garbage, and so she fought tooth and nail to do that. You know, we've come a real long way as a business, and you know, here's some of the stuff that we've accomplished. You know, we're launching another store on Wednesday that my brother has put together relatively single-handedly. We're launching an internet website where you'll be able to shop online for our clothing in another month. And you know, it's obviously been a long 2 years. I thought, you know, thinking about having been in your position a couple years ago as a student with a lot of speakers, I figured that it might be interesting to tell you kind of what we've learned over the last couple years, just really quickly. You know, the first thing is, and this is probably if you're going to be a designer or go work for a retailer or go try to be in a buying office or, you know, start up a business, whatever it is, you know, we think it's important to know what you don't know. You know, in my case, you know, my brother's the living embodiment of that. I mean, I don't know the retail business. I'm learning it every day. I don't know merchandising. When we had this idea and this passion to get this off the ground, it was important for me as the person that wrote the business plan to understand these are skills I don't have, and I actually need to go get them, and thankfully my brother came into it. Whatever aspect of retail and fashion that you go into, remember the customers, unless you're making headway with customers, you're dead in the water every day. And it's kind of like that old adage from music, you know, you're only as good as your last performance. You know, any day that you don't do something right with the customer, you're history. The other thing is that, you know, watch your ego. Obviously, that's our values in life, but be self-aware and make the changes needed. It's important to have strong convictions about whatever you want to do in terms of whether it's going into retail buying or going into design, whatever. And, you know, I definitely think people should stick with their convictions, but it's really important to also know when they should be amended and adapted. You know, if the market is telling you your vision is off, or if you're not getting somewhere, you know, you have to make a really good judgment about how to actually amend what you're doing. You know, the next thing is that persistence. Obviously, nothing comes to those who are faint of heart. I mean, all of you probably came to this very exclusive program from different places, you know, with your own level of persistence. And, you know, obviously, what my great-grandmother's story provides us is, you know, at Fashion to Figure and us personally, is that with persistence, you know, no matter what circumstances you're facing, you can always actually break through and accomplish something. As you guys probably know better than me, it's always all about details, you know, with designs, with display, with anything. Even in work and operations, whatever it is, it's really all about details. The next thing is, you know, love it because it won't be easy. If you have a desire to be excellent at anything, you're going to be surrounded by other people who are excellent at it as well. And if you don't love it when you're running with the top of the pack like that, if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to be the best there, because somebody who's equally as talented is going to love it, and they're going to end up being more successful to you. So try not to get yourself into a situation where, you know, you work really hard and you want to be successful and you're not bringing some desire to it, because you really won't be as successful as you think unless you actually bring a passion for it, because it's not going to be easy. The other thing is, just remember when you guys, I'm sure any of you graduating will know that you know, you want the perfect job, or you want the perfect next step, you know, after FIT, which has been a big accomplishment, even getting in here and graduating the program from all of you. Just remember, it's not, the first step and getting every single thing right is not necessarily what it's about. It's actually about identifying when you take the wrong step and then fixing it very quickly. That's really what the difference between success and failure is. People that are successful, it's not that they make every decision right, it's knowing the wrong ones they make and reversing them quickly. Manage your stress. I mean, anything that you really love doing is obviously going to cause great you know, levels of anxiety or consternation. I mean, anything that you truly care about is going to be stressful, and, you know, you have to know yourselves and you know, definitely manage that so you can you know, make it through. And then the last thing is, it's obviously better to be lucky than smart. I mean, I wish that I could tell you that much of the stuff that's happened at Fashion to Figure is, you know, long hours of arduous thinking and stuff like that, or some grand design my brother and I had, but frankly, it's better to be lucky than smart. I mean, I had an idea for a business plan. I was lucky that my brothers worked in all facets of retail for 17 years and lent credibility and a know-how to our business. And, you know, we were lucky that, you know, we have the support and people behind us that we do, people like Audrey, who is an invaluable asset to us with support. The last thing that I'll leave you with is, you know, we need help. You know, following along with what I said about knowing what you don't know, you know, we have so many things going on in our business, whether it's photo shoots, styling, you know, design ideas, art direction, I mean, anything and everything that's even not up here, you know, we really have a desire and a need to encourage any of you to contact us if you think you can lend help in any of these areas to us. You know, it's a great experience at Fashion to Figure because, you know, there's no structure So you actually get exposure to a great many things. You work directly with the people who own and run the business, and we have nothing but great admiration for what goes on at FIT with regard to the talent that many of you have. So it would be great if you guys wanted to contact us about any internship opportunities or professional opportunities. Feel free to do so at that number. And that's really it about Fashion to Figure and what we do. We're really trying to start, reignite this or restart this revolution that my great-grandmother started 106 years ago, and we're doing it in these locations. So if you guys have any questions, my brother, I'll invite my brother up here. He's somebody that, can answer a lot of questions with regard to sort of, tried and true retail and retailing and merchandising and buying. So, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask away.
Good job. Good job.
Thanks. I don't think you even need a microphone. There you go.
How many people graduate a job?
That's tough. Wow. How many have focused on large sizes at all in terms of studying it? Is there a question? Does anyone have a question? We were that boring?
Well, it's sort of going to become one of the, I say, necessary evils of the business, because right now, we live relatively close to here, which is relatively close to the market, and most of our stuff is here, but it's coming out of India and China. When we get to probably about, I'd say, 6 stores, it's going to be really difficult to just buy product from other people. So I don't know if it'll be FTF or it'll be under another name, but yeah, we'll have to. We've already started cutting some of our own product, actually. We've done some bottoms, and actually, just yesterday, one of my vendors came by the store, and, any of you guys that can go into plus-size petites will make a fortune, because it doesn't exist. So, basically, everyone cuts a pant in a 32-inch inseam right now. No one, a couple of the brands do like a style or 2 styles in basics in a 30-inch inseam, which is not petite. So we'll probably cut that next. But to do something offshore, you have to have like 1,000 dozen. And even if we got like a consortium of small stores together to do it, we could never do it. But we will do it eventually. Yeah. Oh yeah, everything's bought from other people. When Michael said you'll work directly with, that's because this is the company. And we have a third partner who Michael went to school with, who lives in Europe, who does a lot of the financials. But other than that, we work really closely with the stylists in the store and the managers. So when that time comes that we produce product, I would assume that we would go out and hire a design director that I would work closely with. We have a vision. We sort of, like, I go into showrooms basically, and most of it's in the Moderate building on 1407 Broadway is where most people are in Manhattan. And they basically are very item-driven businesses. I go there along with seeing other people's collections, and I may buy their collection. Like Erica would be a great example. It's a Jones New York brand. Jones New York, in my opinion, is just dumb product. But there is some validity to some of the things that they do for us. So we'll grab like 2 or 3 items from them, an item from them, and we sort of create a story. Like right now, we have great, chocolate brown is a big thing, so we sort of pull together all these chocolate brown items from people, and you walk in the store and that's what you see. So no design in-house, nothing, just Michael and I. And we do actually happen to live together too, so.
Yeah, that wasn't a lie.
It wasn't a lie. So basically, we just, Michael just never stops talking about business. It's finally to the point where you just have to shut up. I mean, so that's sort of how it happens. I mean, this is truly a startup. I mean, this is sacrifice. We don't, this is nothing. This is us. So.
Did you have a question up there?
Please stand up and talk loud so everybody can hear you. Sorry about that.
That might be the best answer I've heard in an academic setting ever. Yeah, that's actually an interesting point because it's a point that we make to the investment community, interestingly enough. I pulled that number from a market research source, of which there are tons. And it basically means that last year in the United States, 60 million above size 14 consumers spent $47 billion last year on large sizes. Now, the caveat and the thing you got to watch out for is that's the way that market research firm counted those numbers. And having come from the Wall Street world, trust me when I tell you, anybody can make numbers look however they want, they want them to look. I think what proves the opportunity for us is that even if you look at that type of number and you say, hey, that number's wrong by half or that number's wrong by 50%, it still means that, there's 20-some billion dollars spent, in America, which in and of itself is a wildly large market in terms of dollars spent. And then if you look at the company that's the market leader in this segment, which is Charming Shops with $3 billion of revenue, even if the $47 billion is wrong by 50%, Charming Shops at $3 billion only has slightly more than a 10% share of the market, which means no other company or a slew of other companies have an opportunity to get, that other, several billions of dollars that are not currently, quote, owned by somebody else. So it's just a way to kind of substantiate for the investment community why it is that they should back an idea like this. It's not, it can't be exclusively because of a design desire. It can't be exclusively because we want to go into retail. It has to be because, there's also a financial opportunity that you can put all those things together and be successful.
We've done a test, and my entire career, the one area that I never had any experience with was intimate apparel. Well, we did a small test, and it was a little bit successful. However, I found very quickly that a 48 double D just doesn't cut it. So we're talking about it now because this store is that's the Palisades store, which we actually, after we opened, we fired our store designer, and well, we did. I mean, it's not a bad store, but it's not a good store, and it's too bad that we don't have a picture of the new store because we've come such a long way with our knowledge, and this person that we've teamed up with, that we've partnered with to design the store, has done an amazing job. And it's a lot smaller though, so I don't know if we'll be able to devote the square footage to intimate, but in this store we are going to go forward with it and expand it. And now that we know people want it, I mean, because basically the concept behind what we do is we're just trying to provide a store that it's I mean, for lack of a better word, a normal specialty store that a woman that is a size 14 or above can go into and buy whatever is somewhat trendy, not cutting edge trendy, or sexy, or fun, and it's value for her, because our customers, our guests, are looking for things a little bit more inexpensive.
But intimates is actually an interesting area. Lane Bryant, who's the big market leader in this area. I think close to about 10 years ago now, when they were owned by the Limited Corporation, who actually bought it from our family in the 80s. Because of Limited's other business, Victoria's Secret, Lane Bryant actually used that model and, in fact, the same production facilities to start a collection called Cacique or Cassis. I'm actually Cacique. There you go. It quickly became a $300 million division for them. And it is the leader in intimates for this consumer. And it's a great example of this consumer's increasing desire for things that, of what all women get. The other thing that's interesting, especially if you're creating it yourself, is it's a perfect example of how in large sizes, as well as probably, other special sizes as well, fit and function and fashion are all three critical components. And if you asked our consumers, would you sacrifice fashionability for fit or fit to be more fashionable, they would say, I need both, less I'm not buying. And it's critical. I mean, both those things.
She says she can help.
Yeah, well, we have a car.
All right, you can see the two gentlemen after. Stand up again, young lady. I love the questions. Okay.
Okay, I know that with 75, I don't really need that either. I don't know. Okay, with 75 plus, I can't believe you're making me do this.
We had to do it.
Brands, I know. How, is it really difficult to merchandise? And are you merchandising on age or color or just style? Everything?
Is it, I mean, I guess that the hardest thing for me to learn during my career was to merchandise, and it just sort of was an accident at Saks. I was never really supposed to work on the floor. I was hired for the training program, and I was hired like 6 days before it started, and I did everything that I could to basically backdoor my way, and I couldn't. So I basically had 5 months to kill, and they said, well, do you want to be an intern? And I said, is it paid? They said, yeah, it pays $9 an hour, and I said, fine. So I became an intern, and shortly after I started, the assistant manager and the other intern quit, and it was the coat department during the fourth quarter, and one thing led to another. I ended up liking it so much that the manager got promoted to go to the corporate office, and I stayed to be the department manager of coats, and never went in the training program. Well, a sportswear manager in the off-season quit, so I had never done anything with women's sportswear before, so I sort of just got thrown into it, and the Calvin Klein specialist actually took me under her wing. I'm stick 21. She taught me how to do it, so it's now become the most fun part of my job. In terms of how we merchandise, I mean, I think it's a combination of different things. I sort of try, we are a very good team. Michael's incredibly organized and I'm not, is a good way to describe it. But I do sort of have an idea of what I'm looking for when I go into market. I mean, gauchos are very happening right now, and so knit gauchos, not woven gauchos for us. But, I'll go in, I'll say, okay, well, I think we could probably have 3 or 4 different styles, maybe in 2 or 3 colors each, and we're going to put them in the front of the store. So there is some strategy, but then you also have to react to how things are trending, because certain real estate, the picture's gone, but that front real estate, that's the most valuable real estate, and that should be turning and producing a lot more gross margin than the stuff in the back. So it isn't so easy. It's not really like a scientific equation. It's sort of a balance of science and art. You have to be able to do analysis, but you also have to be able to make the store look great. So, and a dog's a dog. Things don't get better. So it's like if you buy something and it just isn't working, it's not going to get better. You just have to get rid of it, mark it down, and take your lumps.
Hey, we had a
I think. Anybody?
Do you work on an open to buy? And if so, who formulates that for you?
I made it. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Open to buy is not really, it's basically, it's your BOM minus your sales minus your markdowns plus your receipts. That's it, equals your EI.
Say that formula again.
Your beginning of month number, you start off with a number. It's $100,000, okay? You sell $10,000, okay? That's $10,000 of inventory removed. That's $90,000. You reduce your inventory. Whenever you take a markdown, you're reducing your inventory. So not only are you reducing, you're losing money, but you've got to get rid of it. So you marked down $5,000 worth of goods, now you're at $85,000, and you've projected and received $10,000 worth of merchandise, so you've got to add $10,000 back in, so now that's $95,000. It's pretty simple. Where it gets complicated with the big retailers, and it took a long time at Saks to learn how to do an open-to-buy, is because the distribution centers, the systems are like, you have things go out. We are self-liquidating. When we buy a piece of merchandise and it comes in our store, like, Nicholas and Michael own it. I mean, if we have to sell it for $1, we have to sell it for $1. People like Saks or Macy's, they have Loehmann's and TJ Maxx and others to assume that inventory. So a lot of those deals get done without buyer's knowledge. It gets done on the operational financial side, not the merchant side. And stores book things in weird ways, and there's transfers. That's why things in retailers are difficult with open to buy. But an open to buy is, it's the most important tool. It's the Bible. I get on a conference call. Today it'll be at 5:30, but every Monday and Thursday with Michael and Kevin, and they say, okay, when we project every week and we trend and we adjust our buys, we have cash like everyone else has cash, and eventually, no matter who you are, whether you're fashion to figure or you're Saks and everyone in between, your money eventually can run out. So you've got to manage that process pretty, turn and margin, and so that's what it all boils down to. Well, you inventory the comment back was you have to inventory constantly. You have to do that sort of for two reasons. Three reasons. One is you have a financial responsibility to your investors, and we have auditors. That's one reason. The second reason, which is equally as important, is to see what your shortage is. Palisades is not a problem. Our new store in Livingston is going to be a problem. There's going to be a big shortage problem in that store, and so you have to watch that.
What kind of problem?
Shortage.
Oh, shortage.
Theft, yeah. And then the third problem is also shortage related, but statistically speaking, when you are in retail, 70% of theft is from the employees. 20% is external and 10% is paperwork. So it's also when you cycle count, when you do count, that's what we do, is we cycle count all the time. We thought up front that we needed to invest in a decent technology system, and we went to a couple different third-party people and settled on someone called Cam Commerce. And it's a great system. And so basically we just print out reports. It says, okay, in this pink three-legged jean, we're supposed to have, a 1, 2, 2, 1. And someone goes out and counts and says, actually, it's a 0, 2, 2, 1. Okay, where'd that one piece go? So we haven't had a problem yet, but for all those reasons, you have to do inventory.
Please stand up, young lady.
You don't have a broken leg. Yeah.
Well,
let me clarify that.
I think
Because this is something that my brother, who's been very experienced in the business, really tries to tell me to be careful about. We have all kinds of people from background, sizes, experience, ethnicity, everything that work at Fashion to Figure. We wanted to have stylists on the store floor because our business tries to provide an experience, a personable experience for somebody who walks in the door. It's our belief, our family values, our values, that starts with how you treat your own people. Because it's naive to think that you can have a consumer walk in a retail store and have a great experience unless the people you ask to deliver that are also having a great experience. We think it's an empowering role to be in, to be an example of a well-merchandised woman that is stylish, that gets 40% off on all this great product Nick gets and can put it together and wear it to work in a way that can be exemplary to the consumer. That's why they're a stylist. I personally think it's demeaning when retailers call, sales associates or saleswomen or salespeople, because it's it basically, I think, sends a message, you are there to move product, whereas our stylists are there to actually be the face of our business.
Well,
all kinds.
As it turns out, in a lot of cases, the most qualified applicants are full-figured. However, with that said, our top salesperson, who I don't want to say we poached them from Lane Bryant, but they were willingly left Lane Bryant, is a size 4 or 6, and she sells, more than most of the other people combined. So, but I think that a lot of the full-figured women that shop in our store feel more comfortable shopping with a full-figured woman. And we have had people say to us, thank you for creating this environment specifically for not hiring stick figures is the word that gets used a lot. And the other thing is, the photos in our store are all of the people that work in our store. And that's something that generally not a day goes by that we don't get some kind of positive comment about that.
Right, it ends up being, when we do a photo shoot where our people actually are, the target of the photo shoot, or they're the stars of the photo shoot, it not only is a great thing and a great fun exercise that we go through as a company, but it also empowers them on the selling floor to be an example. I mean, if you walk into a store and you get to talk to a woman who's up on the wall in photos, in the outfits, you might trust her because she's up on the wall in photos to say, hey, maybe I should listen to when she says, this shirt fits this way, that shirt fits that way, or this shirt matches this, that shirt matches that. But to your question of stylist, it's a strategic thing we do at the company. It's no basis of hiring. It's our strategy of who manages our store floor. We like to refer to them as stylists and give them other things to do rather than say, all you do today are responsible for moving this product from here to there.
I think I would add, for those of you that are thinking about going into your own business, one thing that I think a lot of people don't recognize is that you are taking on the responsibility of all the people that are working for and with you. And when Michael and I were sort of getting to the final stages of this in terms of the hiring piece of it, it was pretty important for us that down the road, and I don't think that, this isn't going to be like a Microsoft, but that certainly down the road that the people that began with us would have better opportunities financially than they would have elsewhere. Most people that work in retail are, below the poverty line. They make between $8 and $10 an hour.
They also turn over quite a bit. Like you said to me, go to Gap and go there 6 weeks later and see if there's the same people on the store floor. I guarantee you there's changes.
So for us, it's all about culture. Employee ownership, people throwing off the covers in the morning and looking forward to going to work and creating an environment where if people are happy going to work, then people are going to be happy shopping there.
My question was for your stylist, is there salary based on commission plus an hourly fee?
Yeah.
Or-
We also, having worked in both commission and non-commission environments, I'm pretty opposed to a commission-based environment. It just breeds really negative energy. So
Customers don't like it.
we wanted to create and foster an environment that was a family-type environment. So everyone shares a bonus that gets prorated on the number of hours you work if you achieve the goal.
So
Actually-
our whole team gets a bonus.
Okay.
All the
A
staff.
bonus like at the end of the year?
And weekly,
Oh,
we
and
set,
the-
we set a weekly sales goal, and we try to make it achievable, and then everyone splits 1% of gross sales.
Okay. It's just, I find it interesting you say that about commission because I know that I worked before for Nordstrom and I believe that we had a very, a good working environment and based on your commission, it was really fun selling.
Right, exactly. I think the commission for the individual is great. For the environment and for the customer experience, it's sacrifice. And I know that Nordstrom is built on and I say this with passion, the myth of customer service. I think Nordstrom's the same as everybody else, but somehow they've gotten the reputation of having this amazing customer service. We didn't want people to be cutthroat. We didn't want people to say, I have a family to feed and I'm going to cut everyone else out of the loop. We wanted people to help each other, and we encouraged people to work on sales together, and it's like all for one and one for all. We wanted everyone to sort of be there together.
Well, all I can tell you is that I go to the store and I work, and most of the people who were hired 1 year ago at FTF are still there because they enjoy. They wake up in the morning and they want to go to work because they have fun. And so to work somewhere where you have the great environment, have fun and make money, be happy, have a smile on your face. And all I can say is I have fun working with both Michael and Nicholas Kaplan. And I thank you, and I'm glad 40 years ago that I was in the right place at the right time, and your grandfather hired me. Are there any more questions for Michael and Nicholas Kaplan of FTF, Fashion to Figure, sizes 14 to 26? Any more questions? Well, come up and say hi up close.